Today, the conversation changes because today we're talking to Desi men. For every Desi man who was taught to be strong before he was taught to be soft, for every father trying to break cycles he didn't start, for every son who loves his family but is tired of pretending he's fine. We're not here to blame, we're here to understand because our community heals when our men heal. To the dads who work double shifts but feel unseen. To the sons who heard Mard rote nahi. To the husbands learning how to say, I'm sorry and I need help. We grew up in homes where men were told to provide but never how to feel, where being strong was and is seen as a weakness, where children and father relationships are questionably not aligned, and where women and men need to understand each other rather than hate on each other. So today we sit with chai, with honesty, with no judgment, because if we want different kids, we need different dads. Chalo, let's talk. Welcome to episode 4 of Chai with Nadia, and I'm so excited about this one, honestly, because today we have 3 Desi men sitting on the other side, and it's all about being real with Desi men. So let's have a look and let's have a quick introduction. We've got
After,
who is my better half. We can argue that later, but we've got Shiraz.
Shiraz, yes.
Lovely. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
And thank you. And we've got Vishal.
Hi.
Hi. How are you all feeling?
Really good.
Are you connected to your feminine side with the pink?
Yeah. Loving it.
I'm missing my pink microphone because you got a pink one.
I have got a pink one. Do you want a pink one?
We'll swap later on.
No problem. Loving your outfit, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. In line with the heat wave, right?
Definitely. So just to let you know, we have got massive heat wave here. So if we start all sweating, it's just because it's so hot. So
I'll go for the menopause. So it's
Yeah, menopause. Yep.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so how this works, so you probably have watched some of the shows, and I'm going to ask you some questions and then we'll go from that. So should we get straight into it? Perfect. Okay, so the one I thought I'll go quite light with you and is, the first question is, can you tell us one fond, precious memory growing up as a Desi man in England? So Vishal, let's start with you.
First. As a Desi man growing up, I think coming from the subcontinent myself into a community of different races, different people, I think it was nice just mixing with people who weren't family. For me, that's my memory of having relatives. I call them relatives. They were extended family friends of all different races, faiths, and it was just a nice time because everybody needed each other and there was a reliance on each other. And I really remember just going to different people's houses at different times, be it Diwali, Vaisakhi, Eid, and just celebrating everyone. So those are my fond memories that I.
Where did you grow up again, Vishal?
I grew up in Birmingham.
So you're a Brummie boy.
Yeah, I'm a Brummie boy. Yeah, so central Birmingham. So those are my memories that I cherish, actually.
Yeah. Do you think things have changed since you're?
I think so. Yeah. I'd say as a personal opinion, I think things have changed. I think as people who first came here who didn't have anyone, they relied on each other. Didn't matter who they were, whether they were the same caste, creed, colour. But as their own families grew, the reliance on other people outside diminished, I think. And that's why I think there's a lot more separation now.
Yeah. There is a lot of separation now, isn't there? Which is sad, isn't it?
It is.
So,
it's disheartening.
It is, yeah. Actually, we all have fun memories, don't we, of growing up? So, Shiraz, did you want to share something with us?
Yeah, definitely. Similar to Vishal, just that family time, that family bonding, extended family, always together. I remember growing up, there wasn't a weekend where my cousins weren't over at our house or we weren't at their houses. And our house was kind of like a central hub. So everyone used to congregate there, whether it was for Eid, birthdays or pre-drinks before going on a night out. It was always there. But like Vishal said, now that central hub or that large gathering is not there anymore. We find there's a lot more different kind of distractions for people, and life is busy in general. So, and because we're kind of really connected with things that are outside of the family. We did get distracted, I think. You know, we forget that central kind of bond that we used to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you find families were closer back then? weren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah, much closer, much
Yeah.
closer, much closer.
Definitely. What do you think, Cass?
Yeah, absolutely. So growing up, the road I grew up in, Oran Rock, there were 8 of our cousin families on the same road. So somehow our parents all came over in the 70s and bought houses on the same road. So that was growing up. We were in everybody's houses. So there was never a time that we were not alone. We were always mixing with each other. We were always playing with each other outside. We spent so much time outside. We rarely came inside to sleep really and eat. That was it. But it was okay. It was okay. And you know, one time in our house, a 3-bedroom terraced house, there was 27 people living in that house.
Oh, wow.
27, 3 families were living in this one house at the time. I grew up there. But you know what? Somehow, I don't know how we did it. We did it. We did it.
Yeah.
And my mum always told me the story. You know what? You know, she was cooking all the time, roti 24/7. You know, the husbands were working shifts.
Yeah.
But you know, the kids were coming in, the mothers weren't working. They were, you know, generally in those days housewives. But absolutely, that was our life. We just played. It's beautiful.
Yeah. When you look back, do you think of that as a fun time, a fun memory?
Yeah, great memories, great memories. Like we said, 27 people in one house.
One house. Yeah.
It's amazing. So in our old house, the hub that we used to call it, 3-bedroom terraced house, nothing fancy. We had upstairs, there was like a little boiler room or boiler kind of cupboard. In there, we had like from floor to ceiling stacked with foam mattresses and pillows and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we did.
So everyone who comes to our house, all we'd do is we'd run upstairs, open that cupboard, throw all the mattresses down the stairs, pillows downstairs, and lay out in the living room, and everyone would sleep there. So just a great memory.
I think all our parents were that generation.
That's
where
it, yeah.
They just entertained. And I can't remember a day. Nowadays, it's like we say about entertainment for the Friday nights and the weekends.
Yeah.
But I used to remember back then, be it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there would always be people over. And they didn't think twice. They'd done a 12-hour shift. They come home, they make dinner, and they'll just have a laugh and joke. And if they had a night shift, they just get changed and go while people are still at home.
Yeah.
Whereas we're like, oh no, sorry, I'm working tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't do
It's a different sport now, isn't it? So it was but I think they needed each other.
Yeah.
They relished the company. They relished the people, their friends. That was their connection back home. So you know, I still remember. I'm sure you guys do. Whenever somebody's going back home to India, Pakistan,
it's a big thing.
Can you take this bag of goods for me?
Yeah,
Can you take
yeah.
this, or can you bring this back? You know, because it was expensive to
But
go back.
when we used to go to the airport, it was a big thing.
There
And we
you
used to
go.
all go to the airport. It was like see someone else, like, wow, you know.
That is true.
It was a big thing.
Yes.
Going to the airport was like a day out.
It was
That's
a
right.
big.
Yeah, big day out. And now we're begging our brothers and sisters and cousins and friends for a lift.
Yes,
To get there, right?
Yeah. Oh, you pay them now, you know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll get on the Uber, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, get your Uber, mate. Yeah, it's I mean, it was beautiful growing up. Growing up was, but that was a beautiful side, and obviously there was a lot of not so great stuff because obviously growing up in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of racism in the UK. And growing up around Rock, where I grew up, I mean, our favourite pastime or our main pastime was avoiding getting beaten up on the way home.
Really?
Wow. There was a lot of we had a lot of problems with people, and we weren't welcome. We weren't, but we got through it. You know, getting home from school in one piece was. You did that well then.
Yeah.
That's, you know, when you told me that story earlier, I was quite shocked because I was brought up in London and it was after school, we just all go out and play. Race, religion, you know, gender never ever came into any of it. At the end, our mums would just call us and say, "Aja, roti ho gaye," and it's like we will just disappear. We literally weren't at home at all. That's my fun memory.
Well, actually, it's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because I think back to 80s, even Alan Rock, I was around the corner from you by Hart's Hospital.
Okay.
And
Not bad.
literally, the Asians were a minority in those areas.
Absolutely.
So your point of you could get picked up and beaten up. It's like people listen like, what, Alan Rock in what around there now? No, back then
Back
boys
then,
being Alan Rock. There weren't many families of Asian culture, and you were a bit anxious.
Yeah.
You could get picked up and then picked on, and beaten up.
But even then, I remember it not being as kind of, I wouldn't say bad, but as bad as it is now, we just got on with it. There were like some, kind of like racist, kind of like, I remember being called all sorts of names, the P word, etc. But in the end, you just all used to hug each other and get on with it. It was weird. It was nice.
I think
So,
sorry, go on.
I thought we would fight them. That's
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
I think
That's how we got through school.
I think there's also something
Friendly.
around we probably grew up towards the back end of the early 80s where the economy started doing better. So the hard times were probably the 70s more, where we always have the same, when the economy doesn't do well, it's easy to blame the immigrant, right? It's therefore the rise in NF and the kind of stuff you see now. What happens when countries aren't doing well? And we were quite fortunate. I think back in the 80s when the shoulder pads and people started getting money, right? And racism died down.
Right. There was that period
Toward the late
skinheads, skinheads, gradual era,
Oh,
and skinheads, right? And that was a big thing in our area at that time. There was a lot of skinheads in our rock.
I should just point out, Shiraz, you're a bit younger than these two gentlemen, aren't you? So
Hopefully that's obvious on the camera.
I'm sure the ladies will tell us.
Yes, I think we've got about 10 years on you, right? So,
did you never experience it?
I'm the rest.
Did you never experience it?
Not so much.
Okay.
No. So I grew up in Edgbaston, Lee Bank area. At that time, it was quite mixed over there. And then we moved into Small Heath, which was predominantly Asian, which was around 1989, around that time. And in terms of my background, because I've got part Indian and part Black African blood in me, I was able to kind of, ebb and flow in between cultures. So I'd get on with the Black guys, Asian guys, and white guys. It's quite good.
Excellent. I actually forgot to point out we've got a nice mix of Desi men here too. So As, you're from Pakistan.
Well, our family region, born and bred here,
but you were born here. Shiraz, you're born here, but you're from East Africa originally.
Right, yes.
And Vishal, you're born here. And
I was born in India.
Oh, you're born in? No, I didn't ask you that. India.
Yeah.
What part?
So I was in Punjab, Ludhiana.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So as you can see, we've got a big diverse range of men from different, subcontinent Sahara and South Asian. So brilliant, lovely. So on that note, we're going to end this question and then we'll move on to the next one in a bit. Okay, so as Desi men, it's extremely common to be raised to be told, be strong, don't show your emotions, you are a provider. Mard bano, ye aadmi ka kaam nahi hai. I'm not sure if you understand this, Shiraz.
Do a translation for the viewers at home.
This is not a man's job, be a man, be a strong man. How has this affected you or men in general, in your opinion? So I'll go to As first.
Okay. So I came from a very traditional background growing up, very old school way of thinking. Generally speaking, the man was the worker, the wife was the homemaker, generally brought up the kids, and that's predominantly the role parents had in my era. Move on 30, 40 years, it's a very different thing now. There's much more opportunity, I think, for both parties, and the world has significantly changed. So the roles are very different. More females are actually working now. Back in those days, it was probably 10%, if that. Now it's probably 50-50. Generally speaking, you're not going to come across a couple that generally don't work. Modern couples will work. So the roles have changed. I think the challenge around that is also, if the man is out there working and the woman is out there working, who's going to cook? Who's going to look after the house? Who does that? And I think, rightly speaking, the way forward is you share it. It's not anybody's role anymore because the roles have changed. If the woman is out getting up at the same time as you in the morning and spending a whole day out at work, coming home, if you're expecting her to then get behind the kitchen and cook, I think that's a bit out of order. And I think really just you make it work between the two of you. You share the duties, running the house.
Yeah.
It's naturally just got that way. And I think it's great. It's great that over the last 30, 40 years, women have been able to explore more the working environment and to do more what they want to do. And I think the old school way of working is redundant. It's not relative. Now, and the kids that are growing up, there's no way that's going to be accepted. So the reality is that I think we've seen progression. There's still, I think, some cultures which are probably still very, especially in the Pakistani culture, who are still old school way of thinking. But the reality is that you have to look at the kids, because of the future. They are the future. We're not. We've done our time. We're on the other side now.
Yeah.
They are the future, and for them, how they want to live their lives is going to be very different. And all we should do is support it, understand it, and encourage it, and help them and learn from the lessons that we've learned through life.
So thank you. So Vishal, it's still there. We know it's there. Masculinity, etc. You know, be strong, and there's an sometimes there's a reliance on family members or even other people just to say that, you know, you're the man, you're the provider. You know, you need to be strong. You know, you're not allowed to show emotions. How does that resonate with you?
I think two different ways. Part something I've said. I think there's that role thing. If we go really far back, the hunter gatherer versus the nest. Like, you are the provider, so you almost default. And in a lot of houses, it's what you see around you. So for me, growing up, it was all the men that were working, and the women weren't. I was quite fortunate. It was slightly different for us. It was men and women in our families that were working. Mum was a nurse. Mum came to her first life before my dad.
Right.
So we had that almost role model, but you could still see not the disconnect. You could still see there's what you do in your house, which is okay, but then there's expectation from society. You got to be the man. You got to be the provider.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Or if you pick up the dishes, put them in the sink, people are like, why are you doing it? Because they come from a culture where that didn't happen. And that was even, I think, amplified further because our only connection back to our motherland was movies, and those movies still 40 years behind. They showed men didn't do anything. Men were what they did the work. They came home, they put the feet up, and women had to do everything, serve them like gods. And so I think there was that conflict, being from society, from media, whatever you want to call it. We're talking back in the 70s, 80s, before you had loads of channels and things changed. I think they were confused. What's our role? And then as we started growing up, we found partners where we had equal role. You know, my kids were born, I was changing nappies. I didn't think twice about it. And then I saw my dad starting to come and change my kids' nappies, and you could be like, "What are you doing?" Like, "You're here," because they realise it's okay. Yeah, things have moved on massively, but because they didn't have any frame of reference to say things have changed, they defaulted back to what they knew. And we had more frames of reference because we would mix with other people from other cultures, more social media, more channels, and we saw different ways and saw TVs where men and women would work together, and that's where you pick it up from your environment, isn't it? I don't think they had no frame of reference, so that's why they defaulted to man's roles this, woman roles that, you know. And then I think around the other point you raised around the be strong emotion, that's a really interesting one, because sometimes default, I shouldn't cry, it doesn't feel right, you know. And I don't know where that comes from, whether it's genetic or, again, is it because we never saw our parents or our grandparents or our uncles? That's the only frame of reference you have. You know, something happened, you know, you go to somebody's house, you go and do pay respect when somebody dies, you're one side, all the women crying when you're sitting there. Okay. Whereas now you see both sides crying. It's interesting how things have changed.
They have and they haven't. Patriarchy still exists.
Oh, completely.
Massively, yeah. Whilst I've got 3 ideal men here, you know, there are many men out there that really do believe in the patriarchal system, misogyny, etc. So, you know, if someone is tuning into this, what kind of message would you like to maybe share with them? You know, what's going on here? Is it okay? You know?
A few messages. I'll touch on the previous question first.
Yeah.
In terms of roles, you know, male, female. The first one I'd say is, for myself right now, and I suppose in this economy as well, very difficult for the man just to be working and the woman to stay at home. It's unaffordable. So, you know, I think both parties need to be working as well, and that gives everybody a fair share. And like I've said as well, you know, helping around. At the end of the day, we're ultimately one team. Husband and wife is one team. In terms of the protector, so going back to what Vishal said as well, we're brought up to be, the man should be hard, firm, not showing emotions, but that can get into trouble. So for an example for myself, I had a rental property that I had, and I was having issues with the tenant, and wasn't paying rent, breakdown in communication. And I thought to myself, I can handle this on my own. I'm a man that can get this sorted by myself. Because that's what I was kind of brought up to kind of believe, be hard nosed, deal with it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into a situation where I was really struggling. And only until I reached out for some help with some professionals, they could help me resolve that problem. Whereas if you just try and be firm and hard, you can end up in trouble. So help is a beautiful word. That sometimes some men feel that it's a shameful word, but it's not. It's one of the most beautiful words we have. Help.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other point is, in terms of male and female roles, I think it's a bit of a controversial topic. But if we look, women are naturally nurturers. That's something that we have to kind of respect.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see there's a lot more women in teaching and nursing, for example. Men are more stronger, so they are more protectors. Like fish are hunter gatherers. That's where we initially. So that's where you see, look in industry as well. You'll see that what's predominantly in construction or sea trawling or sewage, it's male.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and if there was an intruder in the house, and we're upstairs, are we sending the woman downstairs to go and tackle the intruder? We're sending the man downstairs to tackle the intruder. So I think there's there's roles, but those roles must work together in synergy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's something also about when you ask the question, how do we, the people who haven't moved on, like maybe we have, how do we? And I think the biggest thing I learned is surround yourself with, in a positive way, with females. The biggest thing in my house that changed my views, meet my wife first of all, and then my daughter. If you want to get in touch with your feminine side that's more emotional, and have those people around you. I generally see the difference in houses where there's just boys, versus a house where there's girls. Massive difference. Yeah. Massive difference.
It's interesting. I've got 3 daughters, so I've brought up in a house of women, and then I've got a lot of women in my life. So I haven't had a son, a direct son. Okay, so I've grown up that way, and the way I brought the girls up is it's a kind of mix between being a woman and a man. I've kind of trained them to do things. For example, I sent my daughter the other day to my mate to go get MOT done. Simple thing, okay? Yeah. But it's a man's world, it's a dirty garage, where it is. But I'm quite comfortable sending them out there because I want them to understand how to survive in this world. And I'm not always going to be around. And there are things that they just need to learn. Now, historically, I would have done it. I still do it. I still do a lot for them. That's fine. But I think what we have to do is, especially with Asian girls these days, is to we can be very overprotective as parents. That's just our nature.
Are you overprotective?
I'm very protective of my. Yeah, absolutely. I am.
That's because you've been worried, haven't you? So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want any harm to anybody in my life. Whoever that is, and I will do whatever I can to protect them. That's natural, innate. It's innate in me to be. It's a default. I've got to protect. But what am I really protecting? And I said one day I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be able to protect. But what I want to do is, especially with the girls, is give them the skills and the knowledge and exposure out there to navigate and do things that we said naturally wouldn't do. It's not checking oil on a car, tire pressures, basic stuff. It's basic stuff, but they need to learn this stuff. And so for me, it's more about their lives are so different to ours.
Yeah.
And what we can't do is compare our lives to their lives. It's chalk and cheese. It's chalk and cheese. Yeah. Technology has so revolutionized the way we live. I grew up with a milk bottle. These kids grow up with an iPhone.
Yeah.
It's a complete different world. And I think the biggest challenge is parents, where parents are struggling, is that they're living in the old world and not accepting the new world. It's not that we need to go and have our children understand us. We need to understand our children, their world, because they are the future.
Yeah.
Our world's done better at times.
So I'm actually going to come to a question on children in a bit. So you're
Oh.
jumping ahead.
Okay.
But I do actually want to pick on the point, that when I said merd banon, now I know you've heard that.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about that without coming to a conclusion. I just want to
Yeah.
understand, what does that mean to you? Merd banon. I know you've heard it.
I've lived it. Not just heard it, I've lived it. Merd banon means be the man. Okay, that's technically means. What does that mean? Take control, own it, deal with it, manage it, resolve it. That's what we are programmed as men to do. We're fixers, we're problem solvers by nature. That's, we're naturally not nurturers. But I think over the last decade, we've become more nurturing now. We understand that role a bit better. So yeah, being a man, what is being a man? Being a man it's not what it was before. A true man today is really being empathetic and understanding the other gender and understanding and appreciating what they do, what they bring to the table. They are designed differently. They were born to breed. We're not. Yeah. Okay. But at the same time, our role as a man, it should be to love, cherish, nurture, grow, learn,
And protect, right?
and protect.
And protect.
Yeah.
Well,
Something's going wrong. We have the highest divorce rates. We have women who are really coming out and feeling quite sad about it all, to the point that we have more loneliness as an epidemic now. Couples are breaking up. There's no understanding. Not even sure if marriages exist, to the point that, where's this going, kind of thing. So I think it's easy for us to say that these things, but something's still not right. Have you got any ideas what that could be, Vishal?
Why we're in that situation? I think it probably goes back to where the conversation started. The identity of men and women have both changed. Their roles, it's what was a very black and white historically is a lot more shades of grey.
Yeah.
And some people are embracing it, some people are not. And I think where there is that conflict of we don't understand, I think some default into that's my role, that's my role, therefore the conflict expands. Some people will embrace it, it works. And what was I would say in our parents' time, a dirty word, divorce, that kind of thing, it was in their generation. Yeah, they could get beaten black and blue, but they would never use that word.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And rightfully so now, that shouldn't be tolerated. If somebody, whether they disagree, they don't get on, whether it's too grey and too white now in terms of is that quick get out for anything, you left the toilet seat up, I'm divorcing you. I hope we won't reach that stage yet, but it's become maybe access to doing that kind of stuff a lot quicker now, So,
yeah.
But then I think there's also a thing around tolerance. Our tolerance levels have dropped for everything.
Absolutely.
So from anything, men and women, not just everyone's tolerance levels have dropped. What we would tolerate before, a drop of a hat, we get really irate now. So I think we're in that real quagmire stage now where identities have become blurred in a good way. I think it's in a good way.
I think so.
But not everybody embraces it. The people that haven't embraced it, that ultimately sadly ends in dysfunction and in extreme cases, separation or divorce, maybe.
I think in terms of the divorce rates, like you said, back in the day, it was a dirty word, frowned upon, big shame to the family. But I think now with the information age that we're in at the moment, I think one of the aspects could be couples who are living a steady, normal life, because now they've got access to see what's going on around the world. Okay, this person is living this way, that person there has got this, that person is doing that, and all of a sudden they look at their life and think, actually, why isn't my life like that? I want my life to be like that.
The comparisons.
The comparisons that I see on social media, or my husband is not doing what her husband's doing, or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
And that can plant a seed, or a bad seed into the relationship.
Yes.
So
I agree.
That's another thing as well.
I think expectation comes into it as well. I think to our parents' generation, it was almost a natural. You did your education. If you did it, you got married, and that was it. You had very clear roles. Whereas now everyone has different expectations, and if that isn't discussed, I like the idea of people courting now for a long time before they decide to maybe finally type, because they understand each other's tolerance levels, their expectations, and everything. Where sometimes it's people get thrown straight in the deep end. Some people can't figure out if their tolerance levels aren't that high. They're the ones I think sometimes drift apart quite quickly.
I think a good point there is something that my mum told me, which might sound out of the ordinary. She said that when you're ready to sorry, my microphone's dropped off here. It's dropped into a bad place. She said to me that when you're going to settle down with someone, actually try and live with them first before you before you jump into marriage.
Mm.
You know, and that's quite. I think that's for my mum's generation. That's quite radical.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I asked her why, and she said that because you can just see if you guys are compatible.
Yeah.
Because it's all good dating, you know, dinners, restaurants.
It's when you live
functions.
together
That's not
the
real.
real
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we get that. We get
Yeah.
that. But unfortunately, there are many people out there saying there was no way they're going to let their daughters or sons live together before a marriage. After?
Yeah, I mean, so I had an arranged marriage. Okay, so the way it worked for me, going back for many years now. Okay, so I was kind of told it was the done thing in the family. Everybody had an arranged marriage, and why was I going to be different? So I legged it to London and started working and whatever. Ultimately, came around. Okay, this is what you want. Never met the woman in my life. Lovely woman, don't get me wrong. No, but chalk and cheese. We come from two different worlds. Two different worlds. So how is that ever going to work? But that was the done thing back then in the 1970s.
And no questions were asked.
No questions asked. You know, but yeah, I mean, got 3 beautiful children out of it. Can't argue from that. Okay, but reality, what did I get as a man? What did I get from it? So not a lot, you know. But again,
but you kept the is it?
I kept it, and then what did I keep it for the family? Once you had kids, it's very difficult. You got kids, you know, they're young, you know, but you can't leave that.
So it was this balance, wasn't it? Everyone's is it, everyone's, you know, you didn't want
Lo
to
que
be
abolenge.
bezzati, versus your happiness. Who do you go to for your own mental health support? Now, in a world of therapies going on everywhere around us, where do you go? What do you do? Shiraz?
I wouldn't say mental health support. I'd say just general advice if I have a problem. So I've got a few best friends that I lean into, very trusted, and also my wife as well. So you know we share everything, and sometimes when you have a problem, whether it's a work problem, a health problem, you can lean into your trusted people that are around you. It doesn't matter if it's your wife or best friend, brother, sister. Yeah, so I'm quite good at communicating that. And then once you, and what I found is, once you've got a problem, if you keep it inside you, it can fester away.
It can.
Yeah. Once you just say it to someone, obviously somebody trusted, they may give you some advice or give the load comes off you straight away. They say that a problem shared is a problem halved. And yeah, so I think that's always good.
I love that. I love that answer. I love the fact that you've touched on the fact that having some male friends is where you go to be able to just talk it out. Do you agree with that, Vishal?
For a while I didn't have anyone. I think it was probably pre-COVID realised. I think it's also a definition of what we mean by, sometimes is it a financial question worry? Is it a health worry? Is it a family worry? And sometimes you don't know. I think historically it's just probably, I would probably sit in front of the TV and go into my cave, I think, and try and figure it out. And then normally somebody else picks up on the signals. We're very easy to read as men, I think, sometimes.
So what are these signals, Vishal?
Right? You can tell quietness, you're a bit more recluse, you don't want to engage, and people know your normal personality and then they know you're not normal personality. So it's normally either your kids or your partner that picks up on these, and unfortunately they can. But I think we did realise here locally that there was quite a challenge, and I had a couple of friends who were struggling with the same thing, and we were just going for walks around COVID time, and we realised it was supposed to be networking conversations, but realised 90% of conversations were about how we weren't feeling really great. And then that's when I just sprung into a small wellness group that we set up. We're about 150 members now in the Solihull area. But again, you have to, I think maybe it's genetic, I don't know, or back to the previous question, you're a man, be quiet, hold it all in. Yeah. It's almost become programmed into you to be that quiet, and it's only very slowly when you're in a safe environment. But I always say it's a funny thing, when men go for a quiet drink, it's a quiet drink. We'll talk about everything, football, politics, everything, but we'll never say what we're feeling, and we'll come back and we're still feeling empty because we haven't actually offloaded. We discussed everything, but how
this is the thing. This is the thing. I think sometimes is that a coping mechanism for men? Is it this what you do? You kind of come together, but you'll talk about everything, but you won't talk about the elephant in the room.
Completely. I completely think it is. And it always takes one. So either it's accidental in most cases. Somebody just say, "Oh, I wasn't feeling great," something, yes, or something very, and then that conversation may spin. So, actually, I feel the same. I think it's very rare.
But then it becomes quite light-hearted. Somebody will crack a joke, pat you on the back, and then you're meant to just get on with it. Does that make you feel as if you've offloaded, though, Afs?
No, so for me personally, I find the majority of the relationships I have superficial, in the sense that there's a limit to where you're comfortable to talk about.
So these are men relationships.
These are men relationships. So my best friends I've known for 30, 40 years, when you come on now, university friends, we've kept in touch. We've all gone through different things in life. All of us have got divorced. All of us on second marriages or not married, whatever, had children, gone through the whole debacle. Now, if you look at the trauma in each of those relationships, there's significant trauma. But have we actually sat down and cried it out? Have we actually sat down and really? No, because there's just something in us. I can't put my finger on it. But for me to release myself, and I don't know what I have to do. Cry. I struggle to cry. Just me personally, I really struggle to cry. The last time I cried was my father passed away. I was 16. That's the last time I know I cried.
You cried at our wedding.
And then at our wedding.
He cried at our wedding.
Yes,
at our wedding, and then my daughter get married. That's a different kind of cry.
It was nice.
I'm talking about this hurt cry, this deep hurt cry. Yeah, and we just bottle it up. Men just
do you think
bottle
it's
it up.
because I don't know what you think, but it's almost you feel like being vulnerable.
Yeah,
you let your guard down.
Yeah.
And well, it's a subconscious thing. I don't know what
it is.
I think it's from the programming we've been seeing.
It's that way we've been brought up, and the way we are. It's a weakness. It's a weak, and not just me.
Is it a weakness?
Well, it's a weakness. It's definitely a problem because we can't share, we can't offload the way we want to offload. I'm sure we could, if we wanted to, but we don't. And like I said, I've had, my mates and me, we've gone through a lot of trauma in life, but have we really, really had those deep conversations and letting out? No, we haven't.
So, Shiraz, you have a group of friends. Do you let it out?
Yes, but not to all of them.
Okay.
There's only a select few. So say my friend circle, as an example, maybe 15 guys, but there'll only be 2 that I feel close enough and comfortable enough to speak to, and I know that there's no judgment coming from them.
That's the point. No judgment.
No judgment.
And you feel safe to talk to them?
Yeah, I feel safe to talk to them.
Okay.
I feel safe to talk to them. I mean, so I'll give you a couple of examples. So when I had my first relationship, I've only been married once. My wife is still with me, thank God. Prior to that, I was engaged with another lady, and when that relationship broke down in a bad way because there's somebody else involved, and I was an innocent party, and we'd got to the stage of almost planning the wedding. So when that broke down, it was a big shock to me. Took it in a hard way. So I went to go see one of my friends down south. I thought I'd go down and see him. And I went down there and we just sat down. We just got we got a kebab, a few drinks, and just sat down and spoke about things. He's a bit older than me, but I felt much better after that. Yeah, he told me that these things happen in life, and it's probably better that it happened now than a few years down the line when you're married, you've got your house, you've got your kids, then this happened. So he said right now it's going to hurt, but this is a blessing in disguise.
So this friend really helped you in that situation?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And then I was able to move on from that. And then the second example is I had I won't go into too many details, but I had a financial problem that was on my head, and I couldn't figure a way to resolve it. And I thought to myself, I was getting stressed and worried. How am I going to resolve this problem? I've got nowhere to turn to. And I stressed for about 2 or 3 months. And then I spoke to one of our friends, and within 2 minutes, he said, "Don't worry, I'll help you with this, and that will resolve your problem, and we'll make an arrangement." That's just a massive load off my chest. And he said to me, "Why didn't you speak to me earlier? Why do you suffer like that?" So I think it goes back to what we were saying before. Although I've got good friends I can turn to, at the same time, I still have my own self-pride as a man. So I think sometimes you have those kind of demons that you're battling inside.
This is it,
yeah.
isn't it? Do you have those demons, Ass?
They're there. I think I'm cope with them better now, and I think that's a lot to do with being married to you. If I'm honest, I think there wasn't anybody to guide me back then. It was just me. Whatever decision I made them, right or wrong, I made them. There's no one to challenge me. There's no one to question my thought process. There's no one to argue with. So, and that's predominantly how I grew up. And I did what I did, right or wrong. I did what I did. I think I made more right decisions in my life than I have wrong decisions. But I think I never had that person to actually intellectual person to talk it out with and be pragmatic about the problem and the solution. And so yeah, gremlins are there. We, as men, we hide stuff. We'll always take stuff to our grave. It's not that's bad stuff. It's just it's innate in us, like I said. And I think where we are coming forward now, and I definitely have changed towards this, and especially in the last 10 years, is understanding the other side a bit more. So where I was, it's my way, no way. It's gonna happen. That's it. It's not so much my. It could still be my way, but it'll be my way with feedback,
Better understanding.
Yeah. And what the implication of that is, because I don't see things. I'm so blinkered sometimes. I see things. I'm doing it. I'm quite impulsive.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. That's it. It's happening. But it's not necessarily always going to be the right thing I'm doing at the time. I think it's right, but like I said, now being with Nadia, and that's what happens. If you have that partner that can sometimes just say, okay, just slow down a second, take a moment,
just look at this,
have a look at it from all angles, and because men, we are. That's just. I think we're more impulsive in that nature.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the key things is we're going off topic really, but emotions have to be discussed really, whether you're female or male. Vishal, you agree?
Yeah, no, I do agree, and I think it is a problem. I think it's a I don't think it's a grand problem. I think the based even on the answers from earlier, identity crisis within Asian men, we're maybe slightly better placed because we've grown up with the changing environment. Our older generation, they're struggling with it.
Yeah.
I think mental health, there's so much hidden mental health, I think, in our elders that's unresolved, which is, I think, really projected onto ourselves, maybe.
Maybe.
We're fortunate we have a couple there's probably still not enough outlets out there where or places where we can
100%. I was going to say, in this, women have much more support mechanisms. We have friend circles. We can go out and we can just get together. It's so much more easier for women to come together. But where do men go? Where do you find those people that can really understand you without judgment? Yeah,
it's really. I think it's really difficult.
Really hard.
You can either, if it's offloading, you have things like your Samaritans and everything, which is a non-judgmental, which is great. But
but how many Desi men really go to the Samaritans?
That's my point. There's no safe. There is no safe locality where you say, you know what, come, you won't be judged. Don't care who you are. Leave your title, your creed, your cat, everything at the door. I just come and talk, and then just feel like offload. There is enough. I think it's a problem that's going to keep growing, and that probably feeds into the thing you spoke about earlier around why is there more divorce? It all feeds into it. Because we haven't resolved our own baggage, whether it's been projected down or where we've held it in, that then manifests into your relationships and how you deal with people. And that's why I think it's I wouldn't say we're at pandemic or endemic levels, but I think it's a growing problem.
But if you look at the suicide rate now, with men, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievably high compared to what it was 20, 30 years ago. And again, it's because we don't seek that advice, seek the help. It's whatever it is, it's mental. And men having mental breakdowns now, it's more common than ever. Let's put it out there, drug abuse, alcohol, it's so prevalent now in Asian culture. Yeah, it's bigger than people want to admit.
And it's more easily accessible as well now.
So accessible.
I think you touched on the suicide, male suicide, the rates are high. Another thing, or another angle on that one is I think there's a lot of men out there that haven't, found a partner, settled, found a purpose in their life.
Yeah.
And if they're looking around and they're seeing their friends who are settled, children, working, and time moves so fast, and all of a sudden you can feel left behind. And all of a, and then you've got no partner, no job, no children, no legacy. that can spiral,
Yes.
you know, and bad things can happen from that.
If you were going to advise men who might be watching this show today, what would you advise them, Shiraz?
You have to speak up.
Seek help.
Yeah, you have to speak up. Yeah,
and don't let your pride or ego come in the way. Talk to someone.
100%. Definitely, because you know whatever problem you're going through, you're not the first one and the only one going through this problem. It's been throughout history. People have been through your problems and worse, right? And like I said before, you know, a problem shared is a problem halved. You know, if you're feeling lonely, you have to do something about it. You know, even if it's to, you know, speak to somebody when you're down at the shops, speak to a next door neighbor, join a club. There's so many groups now that men can group. You could join walking groups, just anything. This is just the UK, but we're going out to the world and seek anything, a hobby, just anything, but have something. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So what's one toxic culture you ended to stop generational trauma and why? I'll come to Vishal first.
I don't think I ended it on purpose. It was probably just natural attrition, if you want to call it. It was being more involved with my own kids, you know. For example, sounds really silly now, 2026, but back in the 90s, getting involved in bathing, changing, and just I want to be part of my kids' lives, and other people like, what you do.
Why was it a generational trauma? What used to happen before?
I think as per a lot of the conversation earlier, it's been men had their role, women had their role.
Yeah.
Whether she was still working, it's like your job to do the dinner, look after the kids, everything, and men would, I've done my work, but I'm coming home, sitting and watching TV. And when I that didn't sit right with me. Like I wanted to be involved with my kids, but more importantly, support my partner. You know, I think all of us probably, not just 99% of people I know have been more involved in their kids' lives, and I think it was a shock to our parent generation. What you do? Like, what do you want to do? Changing. I'm taking them to the club or whatever it was, swimming, because that's how I wanted to be.
That's a woman's job.
Yeah, it was. I might be stereotyping, but that was all that's how it was perceived, or that's how it's played out in the circles that we moved in, or on the moves that we saw. This was your man's role, and then suddenly, you know, I wanted to, and all my friends wanted to, because all our kids, we all probably had kids around the same time. We wanted to be involved, and I think that was a big turning point, and the sort of shift in them saying, actually, I'll change your nappy as well then. Okay, this is great.
Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vishal.
I can relate to that. When I got married, and my wife came to live with us. She actually stayed in London first. We got married for a few months, then she moved to Birmingham, and then her mother-in-law came to live with us as well. And I remember we were having dinner one day, and I'd finished, and I was taking my plate to the sink. My dad said to me, "Don't take your plate to the sink. Yeah, they'll do it." And I said to my dad, no, Dad, listen, I'm going to do it. You know, we're all here. We're together. We're one team. Those are old ways. Yeah. And I felt a little bit, I don't know, I can't find the right word, but embarrassed to say that to my dad. But he took it really well. Yes. You know, he took it really well. He says, I said, Dad, this is a different day now. And he understood. And, you know, from that moment forward, he kind of understood that, you know, those times, they've gone. You know, these are new days now.
You could probably say it was probably his fault either. That's what he'd been programmed to do.
Exactly.
I'm sure probably the times we would thought, I want to get up, help my wife. She's you know, she's just given birth and she'd be expected to go and cook in the kitchen straight away. Yes. It probably felt bad, but back then they just didn't, and it wasn't their fault. It's just what they've been programmed from their grandparents, maybe even, right? You know,
so this is exactly what breaking generational trauma is. So
another memory that's popped into my head. I've got to share it.
Go on.
I remember going to my uncle's house for it. There was there's some kind of meal, some kind of get together, and all the men were sitting down in one room on the floor having some food, and the women were in the kitchen. And then once the men finished the food, one of the aunties came around with a bowl of water, right, and a towel and some lemon. And I thought,
so you don't have to get up to wash your hands.
So you don't have to get up to wash your hands. Yeah. And I was
witnessed
like,
that. many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
I've been
you
the
know?
one doing it.
Yeah,
So
really.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, back home,
Mhm.
it's you know, you're alone. You can't break that on your
Mhm.
own. It's easier to go along with it
Mhm.
because as a woman, you know, if you call that out, you will be called all sorts of names. Okay, last and final question in the podcast room. You guys are doing amazing, and I'm sure the audience will say that as well. This is about our children. Okay, so as Desi men, do you feel you have raised your children well? How has it been different to how you were raised? Vishal, should we start with you?
I would like to think that I've raised my kids well. I'm sure they'll be the better judge of that than me. I'm sure if you ever
I'll ask them
yeah, I
later
think
on.
I'll send. I don't think any parent would. You know, I'm sure if you ask my dad the same question, I'm sure he said, "I think I did." Ask him. Yeah, I think it's being involved. I think that's how understanding. We're not 100% involved in their lives. They've got their own obviously lives as well. But as much from a young age, being involved in both my son and my daughter's life, and I don't treat them different. They're both equal.
So, even though you've got one daughter and one son, how was it ever an issue? Did you ever see the daughter differently to the son?
Not in my house. I was quite fortunate that I had my dad was very much like mindset like me. So in our culture, when a boy's born, they're going to give blood to her, and you know, it's like that. Whereas when my sister was born, my dad's the first time my dad did when they gave blood to everyone. Rarity, and we were like, "What do you do that for? You've had a girl." Like, what do you mean? I've had a daughter, and I'm excited.
Challenged it.
My dad challenged it.
Your
It's my
dad
dad.
challenged
He's
it,
the one who gave
right?
blood to everyone. So that's again that projected onto me that this is how you treat them. So I'd like to think that I involve both their lives equally. I think that's probably the recipe or the secret. Being involved as much as you can, as much as they allow you to be involved.
And it's not easy, is it? Because it's a different generation. It's a bit like how we were with our parents. We thought we got them, but we thought we didn't get them, did we? So how do we expect our children to get us? But I think the secret is communication, isn't it? Yeah. So do you talk to your children every day?
Yeah, whether I call them, but they always call me anyway. And you have your own. It's weird. I think my son's probably closer to my wife, and my daughter's probably closer to me. But we all try and communicate as much as we can. And I'd like to think we've got a really good understanding. But I'm sure that if we have that conversation, they'll probably say, no, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. But I think it's a step forward compared to our previous generation. Is it perfect? No, it isn't. Can it get perfect? I think with each evolution, they will. I'm hoping they both learn from how we communicated, and they build upon that with their own kids. And that's the other thing I would say: take away. If you can, don't try and fall into the trap of previous generations where they have a girl has her role, a boy has his role. Treat them equal and try and get as much involved, and don't try and challenge everything they do. I remember a great anecdote. I think when my daughter was about 16, 17, some holidays, she went out with her friends, clubbing, came back 5 in the morning, not a problem. And then during the day, she slept, got up, and she was going out again. And I said, "Oh, but you went out last night?" And she said, "I didn't realize there was a quota." And I realized at that point, you know what, hang on. That was my parents' projection on me.
Yeah.
Because we would go out once a week and we were like,
Yeah.
but you went out last week, why are you going
Yeah.
again?
Yeah.
I thought, my God, I hadn't even realized.
Yeah.
I just said that without even thinking.
Yeah. But that realization that you came very quick. There are incidents like that. Even in my life, I remember that was it. You're banned. You cannot do that. You disobeyed your father, and you will suffer for that because daughters aren't allowed to do half the things that sons are in our culture. I'm afraid. So
I think it's As's point you raised earlier on. It took you to step up and challenge them all, and they are constantly challenging both my kids, my thinking and my projections from my own previous generations, and that's not everyone. And all I would say is, if your kids do that, don't see it as an aggression, as a, oh my God, how dare they? Just embrace it as much as you can, and then obviously doesn't mean giving it, give them a mile. You find the compromise. I think.
Yeah, it's not about who's right and who's wrong. It's about understanding, like you said, that compromise.
And just be open to listen. I think that's come across. That's the evolving change of the man. I think is where a lot more open to, hopefully, listening to what everyone's opinions are. Doesn't mean we're right or they're right or vice versa. It's just in trying to embrace as much as we can.
These judgments that happen in our head happen in our head. You know, we are in control of what goes on in our heads, and it's learning. And later on in some episodes, I will also help people understand how to do that. But Afs, just coming to you, you've got 3, well, sometimes 6 beautiful daughters, haven't you?
Yeah, so my life's a bit different. I think the biggest thing is understanding as parents, you don't own your children. They are borrowed to you. Yeah, they're a gift. They, they are a gift. I would say from the ages of 0 to 13, 14, yeah, you got pretty much 100% control of the kids.
I was saying the word control.
Not control, but as in they're there with you for that period of time, predominantly in the way you want them. Then they'll go to the teenage years, and that's when they're developing, they're exploring, they're realizing who they are, trying to figure out the world and where they fit in. I think the biggest mistake parents make is that they think they own the kids till either they get married or they move out.
Sometimes even beyond marriage, where they feel that they can control the
Yeah.
marriage and say, this is what you do, this is he's not earning enough,
Yeah.
or, you know,
Yeah,
don't do that with your mother-in-law.
Yeah,
So,
so-
it goes beyond
Absolutely.
marriage, I'm
So
afraid.
the way I think I've developed and I feel progressive, and I think this is where a lot of men fathers go wrong is that control element. Look, I try different strategies with my children, and it is quite cutting edge. I'll be honest with you. Okay, so I gave them the freedom, all the freedom they wanted, but there was a control in the back, and they know what right and wrong. They know what they can and can't do. But I let them live. I let them live. I let my children live, all children. Okay, and I think what that's done is that what they realize when kids, this is the way parents got wrong. The more you try to control a child, the more they're gonna rebel. Yeah. Let them be. Because one, they realize they can go out every night. You know what? They stop going out. It's irony, but it works. They stop going out because they're like.
But why shouldn't they go out?
No,
What
that's
was
not-
that rule
no,
anyway?
no,
It was
no.
like, is it again? It goes back. Let's go to the root cause. Was it basically what if somebody sees my daughter going out at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
Somehow there was always another rule for a
There's also
daughter.
that
than
worry
to
around. There was that cultural identity thing as well.
Yeah.
If they go out, you're too English,
Yeah.
or you're
Yes.
too
Yeah,
white.
yeah.
If you don't go, it's a really hard balance. We felt it.
Absolutely.
And I think what I've realized, the biggest thing I realized, and I have to agree with it, is our children operate in black and white.
Absolutely.
We operated in shades of grey. Our generation, because we didn't know what
We
was
did.
right, what was wrong, so we just lied.
Yeah.
We didn't even have social media to
No.
be
Yeah.
able to
No
Google
one
it,
could see
did
where we were.
So-
But if I think back where I went, what I did, no one really knew who the real I was. Just lying to get out and stuff. Our kids, they're going to go out 5 nights a week. They'll tell us they're going to go out 5 nights a week, whether we like it or not. But they're honest. They don't deal in blagging or lying. It's black and white, which is one thing I really do like, because you know where you stand.
You know, you tell me the kids.
So just to bring this together, I mean, how do you keep a close relationship with children? Because there are many men out there, unfortunately, that don't have a close relationship with their children. I know of stories, anecdotes where there has been, almost no contact allowed with their children. So there are some seriously upset children, teenagers going into that, and they take that into their adult lives. What would you say, Shiraz? You've got younger daughters.
Yeah.
haven't you? So, yeah.
I'll pitch in where I can. So currently, my daughters are young, so they're 5 and 8 years old. So I'll be leaning into Afs's experience and Vishal's experience when the girls get a bit older, in terms of all the fatherly.
Happy birthday. Please comment.
The fatherly daughter.
My day rate's cheap.
Brilliant. Thank you. I'll speak about my sister. So we are 3 siblings. I'm the eldest. I got my brother, who's the middle one, and my sister, the younger one. So when we were growing up, I tried to be a big sister to my sister. Yeah. So we used to take her out with us. We used to show her things. When she got to the age of maybe having a boyfriend, we allowed that, but monitored it, just so she can kind of explore the world. And got to the stage where I said to her that you can tell me anything, even if you came home one day and says, Shiraz, I've got a problem. I'm expecting. I don't know who the father is. I says, you can tell me that, because it's a problem. I'm here to support you. See me as your big sister.
Yeah.
So that's the relationship I built with my
It's
sister.
beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. That's the relationship I built with my sister. So my daughters know that I love football. So one of the games, they knew I was going to go out to watch football, and they said, "Daddy, you're going to be going out." I said, "Yeah, I'm going to go out." And they said, "Can we do something special if England win?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Tell you what, you've always said you wanted to paint my nails, right?" So I said, "You can paint my nails of England then." Yeah. And
the England flag.
it's England flag, and believe it or not, there's still remnants there. Remnants there, right?
So
So,
cute.
England flag. I couldn't get enough nail polish nail polish remover to get it off in time, but I think that's it's a lovely kind of bonding moment for my daughters.
So bond, stay close to your children.
Yes.
Don't
Understand
put
your children. Key thing, I think, where parents are going wrong now is that, you know, when the kids do go in the rooms and they're doing whatever they're doing, it's having that, you know, meals now have become such a, it's really bad. I mean, back in the day, we'd have a meal, everybody sits around the table, you eat together. Now, do we all eat together? Everybody's at a different time. Then we've lost that central thing that growing up, that was the key thing. Dinner was dinner. Whatever was cooked, you ate it. End off. You don't complain. Whatever's on the table, you eat it. Now we've given, everybody's got their own choices, and there's so much variety.
How does that make you feel? Because I feel like you're a little bit sad about that.
Yeah, I think it was a beautiful, growing up, it's a beautiful thing, because we knew at 12, 1 o'clock we're going to eat together. We knew at 6, 7 o'clock we're going to eat together, and we're going to be
It's
together.
that family time.
Yeah, we knew that moment we're going to be. Not that anything real substance came out in that. It was just the process, and it was just given. Now, you know, kids will have their dinner in the bedroom, one will be eating downstairs, and
But do you think some parents out there are forcing that to happen, so the children are now backing off and saying, look, it's not that we don't love you, but we have our own way of our space, and you need to respect that space and respect that time. You know, you know, they're growing up.
Yeah, and I think that's where parents go wrong. Is that, again, it's that control thing. It's that we own you and you are our kids.
Yeah.
You'll do
and you do whatever we say.
Yeah, and we do it, and that's where, if look, for the future generation to survive, for these kids to have a good relationship with their parents, the parents are going to change. It's not the kids, it's the parents that are going to change. That's the key driver here.
Yeah, you've touched on a lot of topics there. Yeah, it is. And now we will talk about that on another show, like what happens to us as we get older. So I think that's a really important topic. But thank you very much, guys. I'm going to say cheers with Chai with Nadia for being in my podcast room. All right. Because we're going to go into the kitchen now and do some fun stuff. So join us in the kitchen, because these lovely men are going to be cooking us something. To see in a bit.